It's funny, I think when Monica Monique, either on LinkedIn or something, she saw what I posted, like, hey, we're doing this thing. She said this thing like, oh, like for many people, Rory was my first. So I hope that's an uncomfortable thing to say in front of people. But I will agree with the sentiment that I think on my journey, and I was so grateful when we discovered that you were, kind of really participating in our New York events and stuff. I learned so much from you early on, and I think it's people that are new to the space. I always even reference you as an example of what there's so much of, is that there's a lot of people, on this sort of journey of learning, but we're sharing it back. And I think until that becomes sort of disincentivized for some reason, that is kind of the value of being here, is that there actually is quite a bit of shared learning, and that's very much the spirit of what we're doing with this new format of RoboDojo. But as we were kind of cracking, like, you have so much to share, and if anything, Midjourney is sort of like what a lot of people might first associate with you, and all these amazing toolkits and stuff that you've shared. Weavy is sort of this pretty cool, like, little world. I mean, we can all even debate about how it's become a meme with like the nodes, and Kriya just added nodes, and FreePic just added nodes. It's like Oprah handing out nodes. Like, everybody's got nodes. And I know there's at least one person in the audience, Michael Ronan, that I'm sure will chime in at some point, who's been another voice for me of learning about Weavy. He actually introduced us to Weavy.ai in the lot when they came and were a part of our event there.
So cool.
But the idea of node-based is, obviously, you could argue Comfy UI is even deeper on the use case for these things. But even now, Weavy getting acquired by Figma, like, there's just a lot to absorb about Weavy, that there might be, and as I followed you, really leveled up kind of your offerings on and sharing the workflows. So I think we were talking about this. I would love to turn the mic over. Introduce yourself if there's anything new you'd say about yourself. But we're so excited to have you with us, and we're ready to go deep on this, and also create an opportunity for others to chime in and share workflows today. But you're going to take us down the first sort of a circle of Weavy here.
Awesome. No, thanks for the glowing introduction, Fred. It's nice. Appreciate it. Yeah, no, what's up, everyone? Rory Flynn. I am the founder of something that I call Systematic AI, a company that no one's ever heard of before. But do a lot of things, right? Like, I could say I do one thing or the other, but it just ends up being like just glorified problem solving with AI. A lot of times what I'm trying to focus on is scale. So for internal teams, which is like, you have a creative team, you have a brand team, you have a marketing team, whatever. We all have design problems. It's just like, how do we sort of fix them with the tools that we have available? And then how can we build now workflows to not automate some of this, but at least to put like the thinking of the process into the digital space, and then sort of tailor it to fit our needs, because everyone's different, right? Like, I always look at everything. This isn't a glorified sales pitch for me, but this is just a way that I look at everything, coming from the agency world, more so in the performance marketing side. But everyone's operations got a problem. The best companies in the world got operational problems, right? And we're all looking for ways to do things just a little bit cleaner, a little bit simpler, a little bit more structured. So that's why Weavy, when I saw it, I was like, ooh, yeah, this fits. Because, at the amount of projects that I was doing and working on, the teams that I was helping, it's like, all right, let's go to ChatGPT. We'll create prompts here. We'll copy that. We'll go to Midjourney. We'll paste them into Midjourney. Then we'll do some editing in there. Then we'll download that. And then we'll go to Runway. And then we'll, create the videos. And if those don't work, we got to go back to ChatGPT and do the whole thing all over again. So it's just like, number one, you're asking businesses, you, the consumer as well, to have like, how many subscriptions? And also, from that standpoint, know how many different interfaces, which is another thing that just becomes, even more difficult. So when I saw Weavy, I was like, yeah, this is the one. This is the ticket. Comfy, for me, I played around in Comfy. I like it. I like what you can do in there. I can't go into a business, which majority of my business now is going into other businesses and helping with this stuff. For someone who's never picked up ChatGPT before, showing them Comfy UI, not going to fly. It's not going to work. Like, I can teach you prompting. I can't teach you Comfy if you know nothing. So, I'm not going to be a self-proclaimed expert at Comfy or anything like that. But, reality was, this is sort of a very easy, for anyone that's doing this stuff as well, anyone that's looking to help businesses, or, going into internal teams, or you're partnering with other people, Weavy's very comfortable. Like, as crazy as it looks with all the node-based stuff, like a lot of designers, a lot of people in the production world are used to node-based tools. It's comfortable. It's not paragraph and pray, right? Which is what I like to, what is majority of AI. It's like, let's take this, something that we know already, we're used to it, and we'll build sort of structure around it so we can get either replicable outcomes or we can test like branching realities, which I think is the best part of it. But that's like a way too long of an intro. But there's a lot that goes into it. Weavy, if you guys haven't checked it out, really cool product. The team there, 13 people. So they're really small. Anyone on that team, if you have questions and you're looking for certain things, just reach out to them. Lior, Netta, and Itai, super invested. They're the closest thing I've seen in terms of like community to Midjourney, where it's like, all right, we're community first. We want to take it. We want to take feedback. We want to move fast. They are 13 people, so they can move fast. But I don't think much is going to change with the Figma stuff. So, that being said, I prepped some stuff for you guys. I don't know what exactly where we're gonna go, what we're gonna get to. I figured there's probably some people that are fairly deep in this, probably some people that are fairly, just starting. But that being said, I'm gonna pull up some slides only because I need to keep myself on track, or I'll just talk podcast style to you guys for an hour and a half. But let's I'll run through some of this stuff. I think there's good things. Then we can go. My plan for this, Fred, just if you're cool with this, we'll go through some slides. I'll just lay some groundwork. I'll jump in. I'll show you some really big stuff, and then I'll show you some really small stuff, like easy ways to use this, and then like more complex ways to use this. But
it'd be fun to learn where the gear shift is on the car. But if there's a few kind of and this is where you really see the potential of doing new stuff. I think that's what's exciting. I mean, for anybody that hasn't used Weavy, what's cool about it is, and I think they're a great product. They have a lot of their own tutorials when you walk in. Yeah, so it's a very welcoming tool, which is I think another thing I liked about it. But that's the opportunity. I'd love you to take us to some edges of it.
Yeah, it's shareable too, which is the best thing, right? Like if I build, I'm always thinking about this stuff in terms of team, right? Like if I can build one thing, then everyone can use it. Right? Like if you crack the code, everyone gets to reap the benefits. So that's why it's also cool. It's like if you build these, and then every once in a while you stumble across something that's like a meal ticket, and you're like, what? So like random workflow. I'm not allowed to show it because it's for a brand that I'm under NDA with. But let's just say there's something like a certain product and food has to be placed in it. Right. And then we have to change the food and localize the food all the time and then place that in different locations. It's having a hard time like getting the product to stay consistent because it's glass. So it's like a very weird thing for AI to handle. Like here's the food, put it inside the glass dish with the perspective and the lighting and everything in the background. So it's a lot. But like I went about it in like a totally random way last night and it worked out. And now it's like a one-click solution, right? It's like now it's every single time. So it's just, you find it one time, you do the same process, it works, and like, then you roll from there. But again, enough of me talking about this stuff, just be like ripping on it. Now, where am I? This, all right, let's just,
so and I don't know how much you switch around on Google Meets. If you want to play audio at all, it's easier if you share a tab.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is, let me actually, sorry guys, I'm like totally all over the place coming in. This is the workflow building 101.
Yeah, while Rory's getting set up, if people have questions, I'll do my best to kind of DJ off the chats. I know Kyle's already asking, can you download the JSON of a flow, or can you just share a workflow canvas as we get deeper into this? But also raise your hands of, but let's give Rory a window to run with this for a little bit and give us a taste of this. But in case you had a quick answer, Kyle had a question.
So not that I know of, I know that I have like copied a whole node pack before and then like went to go download it to, or went to go paste it to another workflow and then ended up putting it in an email because I thought I copy pasted something else and it came out in JSON format. So I haven't tried to like export it in that sense, but maybe. That's a good question. I guess I should try to do that.
That's why we're here. These are the types of questions.
That's the good stuff though. So yeah, like this is it. I'm not going any crazier than that. Like in terms of to build this stuff, like you don't need to be good at every tool. You don't need to know every tool, yeah, it's great. It's great to know some like core functionality of every tool and what they do. But that's the idea. We're just going to be bombarded with tools now. So everything's going to be new at all times. So like instead of that, let's just learn like where these things sit. And if you can do basically 3 things, you can build any workflow and the tools become interchangeable. It's like building the assembly line, and when the machines become out of date, you just fix them or repair them or swap them, right? Like it's not, the workflow process still typically looks exactly the same. So like these are the 3 ones that I'm always thinking about, right? Like this will be like part, I guess, instructional if you want to call it that. But like number 1, skill 1, deconstruction. That's basically if we can take any piece of medium and deconstruct it into its core components, then that's going to be like a way for us to build scale, right? Because AI works really well off formula. So how do we take like an image, deconstruct it into its requisite parts, or a video, deconstruct it into its requisite parts, sort of turn that into a formula, and then have it be like Mad Lib style for an LLM to fill out, right? Because a lot of this stuff, and we'll go through some more basic use cases where I'm just using this as like a design / compositing tool versus like where I'm running this at scale, like 1 click, infinite assets, right? So deconstruction comes paramount in all of this. You can, you can basically reverse engineer, you can build workflows. System prompts, if anyone's familiar, I'm sure most of you are, with building like custom GPTs, the runoff system prompts saying like, basically, if I give you this, do this every time. That's what we, in the workflow space, if you want to start building more automation and scale, system prompts become really important, but also it's like the precursor to agents, the buzzword, which everything is run off of. And then 3 is just sort of like, I think this will eventually change. This workflow dev as being a skill, I think this will be way more attainable. Like I think it'll be less tool focused and a little bit more sort of like navigational in a sense, regardless. But basically, how do I get from point A to point B? What tools do I need to get there? What process do I need to take? Right. So that's sort of like the 3 ones. And like basically, like going over deconstruction, like I always start with images, right? Because images, to me, if you're doing anything that requires consistency, whether that's film, advertising, whatever, you need to have images, because the video, text to video is still not clean enough yet to get like the same thing all the time. So we're all starting with images, right? So if we wanted to essentially deconstruct an image, like what goes into an image, like what is the most important thing, right? Like I call these like the non-negotiables, right? Like they're going to be provided in an image whether you prompt them or not. So if I broke down an image, right, like into its core components, basically to have like, see, these are probably the main categories. Like I would say these are condensed, like you're going to have these in just about every single image. You have your shot and your shot type, so how it's captured. You have your subject and your action, like who and what they're doing. The environment, where it is, your color scheme, the colors, right? Like pretty standard. I like to use like, camera types or lens types. Like the lens types to me works really well in terms of the shot and like how it's, how it's constructed visually, how the hierarchy looks, how like the focal points look, things like that. Composition, again, like what that looks like, the mood and emotion, to me, that tends to give a nice little pop as well. But again, every image is going to have lighting. You're not going to have an image without lighting. If you didn't, there'd be a black, just like a black square. Textures to me is often something that we probably don't prompt for enough, because that's what everyone complains about in this space is, everything looks soft and plastic. It's like, all right, well, prompt for the textures. And then details and modifiers, right? Like these are your extra subtle details or props. But effectively, essentially, it's like we take our visual building blocks here. Or like I consider all those categories like little building blocks. Like each one of these goes into making up our AI image, right? So good thing about thinking about it like this too is when we start to prompt, and if we want to make edits or iterate, which we all know is everything, when you start to break things out like this and you have your core non-negotiables sort of aligned, you can just go and like, oh, I don't like the lighting. I know where it is in my prompt, go swap it, right? Because once we have sort of like these visual building blocks, and you can do this for images, you do the same sort of process for video, same sort of process for music. Like if we were going to do video, the visual building blocks, majority of the time, this is exactly the same. It's just, what are we adding? Motion, camera motion, subject interaction with environment, XYZ. But like, it's essentially the same thing. You're going to have lighting, you're going to have composition, you're going to have colors, shot types, subject action, right? So, good thing is when we take something like this, like an image, we have our little building blocks. And then Once we have that, we can structure that into a formula. This is where it becomes like this stupid thing is like we're basically all of the scale what came from after that is like if we can figure out how to systematize prompting, that it doesn't have to be us all the time, it can be an LLM, and then we have to just give it instructions, right? So again, we were to take like all those building blocks and sort of layer them into a prompt formula, it might come up with something like motorsport photography, Red Bull F1 car on a track. We have the color scheme, we have our camera filter or our camera lens, depth of field, backlighting, center framing, motion blur, right? Like seemingly random collection of words. But when we run this stuff, we get exactly what we asked for because we're covering like just the non-negotiables. Yes, you can put more in, you can put less in, but I think like when you can control at least the non-negotiables, you have like a really good opportunity to like basically control every part of the image. So, that's cool. But all these things, we're setting like a little bit of a baseline here before we actually go in and do this stuff. Because like these image editors now, like they're like the hottest thing on the market, the in-context models, right? They're super intuitive. They have infinite possibilities. You can do a lot with them. They're not too hard though. Because again, like, I'm sure you guys know these models that we've been talking about, Nano Banana, Seed Dance, GPT, Flux, Runway, they're interchangeable. I think, Nano and Seed Dance are top of the pile right now, but who knows what next week looks like. So, I'm sure Nano's coming out with 2, GPT's coming out with their second version of it. It's just like, they all work the same way. But like, if we're going to figure out how to use these tools, like when the new tools come around, right? It's like, we're taking like, what is essentially editing, right? Like they're saying it's an editing tool. So it's like, to me, this is the easiest way to sort of get on board with new stuff as it comes out too. It's like, essentially editing is keep this, change that, right? Like that's it. So that's how I like to structure a lot of my prompts. And a lot of times this is also very easy for the LLMs to do this at scale, which is, we'll get to this stuff. But like simple prompt structures, right? Like I'll just write in these things for this, keep, colon, that's it, and then details you want to keep, change, colon, details you want to change, add, remove, whatever. So this provides like a pretty structured format that, again, we're going to show the, moving into the system prompt side of things, how that helps, right? So like this prompt, for an example, keep this exact product visible, preserve the fine details. Pretty simple, right? Change, then we'll have like our prompt, what we want them doing, what they are doing, sun sweat soaked expression. I was feeling spicy that day, I guess. So we can take something like this and basically all we're saying is keep the bottle, change the environment, the background, the lighting, right? Like that's sort of how we're thinking about it. Because that, again, is a very simple structure, but that's cool. But that can also lead to scale, right? Like for my business in the performance marketing side of things, we just need assets all the time. Like there's no end to the asset game. We might have 50 pieces of creative each week that we're running. 3 might work. We need to swap 47. So something like this is necessary for us to keep going at that scale, right? But that leads us to, let me see where I'm at on time here. I want to make sure we get into the actual tool. 2 is system prompts. Like this is to me like kind of where everything's moving, but they guide the output. Like that's exactly what they do. It's replicable, right? You want replicable things. You want replicable output and you want predictable output, not something that's going to be like, here, can you go create me a prompt and it comes out different every time, and then it has some extra commentary or it does this or that, right? We want to be able to sort of like guide the LLMs to write how we want them to, or to do what we want them to do, like all the time. So like this one, loose guideline, don't have to use this every single time. This is basically like my little structure. Everyone who's on here who's back in ChatGPT in like 2022, 2023 is going to look very familiar to like those mega prompts we used to have to write to get anything good out of them. Luckily, that same structure sort of works as a system prompt, right? So again, we'll do these 6 categories. You can add more. You don't have to have all of them. I think these are just like pretty much condensed as the good amount of things that you need in there. We want to have someone who's going to act as, right? Like who are we acting as? Is it a rocket scientist or is it a prompt engineer, right? The goal is like what we're actually trying to do. The output is how to respond. I think this one's interesting most of the time because I sometimes forget about it. But it's like if I basically saying like, I'm going to give you this, what are you going to give me back? So if I give you an image or if I give you a piece of text, how are you going to respond to that? Core focus, like what exactly we're trying to do and how it should be performed. The format, it's how it should output. Is this going to be like a list? Is this going to be a script? Is this going to be a prompt? Is this going to be a, a task sheet, whatever? And then limits. This to me is the most important because this is where everything's sort of like, you need to like really narrow the knowledge base down to like limits it from doing things. It also makes it more tailored, right? So this is basically the core formats here. But like if I was going to go build a prompt generator, right, for an image model, this is probably how I'd write this. I won't read this to you guys, but I'll show you sort of like the breakdown of it. Basically, I'd want to act as a visual merchandiser who's going to generate prompts for an image generation model. So visual merchandiser is typically a good one. This is on the marketing side. You want it to be a cinematographer, photographer, art director. Those might be good holding sort of positions as well. The goal is to help users generate prompts, especially in, photorealism, human anatomy, detailed scenes, right? Output for every, this is what I was talking about from the response, for every user input image or idea, always generate a distinct prompt, meaning if I just give you an image, go and generate a prompt. If I give you a piece of text, go generate a prompt. If I give you an image and text, generate a prompt. So basically whatever I give you, don't like respond as oh, sorry, I don't know how to compute that. I would like you to explain what you mean. Just want them to go do things, right? So this is a core focus here. What I'm saying is while photorealism and cinematic realism are the core focuses, when other styles are requested, again, such as 2D, illustrated, 3D rendering, adapt the prompt structure accordingly for each target style. So don't be so rigid that I can't give you something different and you can't answer, basically is what I'm doing there. Format, having all prompts should be detailed for, we're going to add context such as our prompt formula from before. Then each prompt should be about 200 to 350 words. This is typically like a good mix for just about all of the like image generators. Like they all somewhat like something a little bit different, but we're kind of in a good grace zone there. And then limits. This is the important piece. It's, do not include any explanation, just provide the prompt. Because if you think about when we build these workflows, right, I'm going to do one thing and it's going to end up all the way down here. It's going to go through a number of different stages. But like if I'll write this prompt, if I have it write a prompt and it's like, hey, here's like the 5 prompts I wrote for you. What do you think? ? And then your prompts, it's like, that's going to go right into the image generator without you checking it. And it's just going to screw up everything. So basically we're just saying, just give me the prompt, dude. Like nothing else. That's it. Just write that. Not, what do you think? Do you have any more questions? We don't want any commentary or additional analysis. So the goal here for something like this, right, is for me, I don't necessarily like to write 3-4 paragraph prompts anymore. I don't have the time or the brain power, but I do know how I always like to write prompts. So that's how I use my system prompt to do like much of the heavy lifting. Because the goal here for me specifically is I want to just provide a loose idea. That's basically all I want to do is give it like some little general idea. I want the system prompt to take over and say, got you. I understand what you're trying to do. Let me go and write a more detailed prompt for you. And then I'll go and send this to the other image generators to go generate. So this is like basically to me, like a core engine of workflow building is like, yes, you can have it write 1 prompt for you. You can also have it write 50 prompts for you. It can do a lot of different things. So, it's to me, that's really what you're building in workflows, like little engines, things that can be replicable. Because, with the workflow dev side of things, and this is where my slides might go a little bit off hinged, but this is more so into my world, but it all sort of makes sense in the end here. But the workflow dev stage it's important because it's got to be controllable, number one. It is very customizable. The stuff can be scalable depending on how you build it. To me, it's hard for me to do like single prompting anymore, like unless I'm really working on a very specific project. I'm trying to build in batch, so I'm getting 20 outputs instead of 1, right? Or 20 outputs instead of 4. So I can look at this stuff and really like get to what I'm trying to get to much quicker. And it's building certain processes like this where, I'm really just writing 1 prompt and then two system prompts are taking over and creating 20 images, right? So that's where I sit. You know, the images are fast, they're cheap now. It's not that hard, and you know, it just allows us to think in batch and just create more. So
Quick
again,
question
yeah,
from Roberto, just that what about the metadata of your output? If you want to replicate something, are there stories, or is there a seed or a prompt?
I'm sorry, in the
If you want to replicate something of your output,
oh
is
yeah,
there like stored a seed or a prompt that you can then?
yes,
Is that what you're asking, Roberto?
yes. So I'll show you when we go in here. Majority of the times when you're running with the LLMs, they're cataloged, so you can go back and look through them, extract them if you want to. If you're running in batch, if you're just doing one, it'll always technically be there. That is the one thing that you will notice with the node-based systems, right? When you do these, when you are prompting in these, you know, these little boxes, oftentimes if you go and erase one prompt, like gone, not getting it back. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So a lot of times it's good to, you know, either catalog. There are seeds that are available with some of the tools depending on what you generate. So yes, there's a yes and a no answer to that. So again, if you guys aren't familiar with Weavy, it's the node-based craze right now. 100 plus tools, super scalable. A lot of traditional tools in there as well, which I love. You know, more so compositing tools, and there's, you know, things that you're familiar with from Photoshop, you know, your levels and your, you know, your different channel mixers and things like that, which are come in handy really nice. 3D nodes, got a lot of stuff.
Not to derail from the walkthrough, but that's what was so interesting to me about Figma teaming up, because in some ways, like, it was right during Adobe Max where clearly Adobe's showcasing how they've always been the dashboard for so many different functions, and now they're entering this aggregator phase and working with all these different tools. And Figma is obvious to a lot of people on this call. It's a very, you know, comfortable collaborative workspace. And they're like, okay, insert here all the models, all the tools, every possible thing that we don't have with one partnership. That speaks a similar language. I just thought that was interesting. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I think it's great because I think Figma, you know, any hardcore Figma users here know that you live on plugins a lot of times. I think that's going to be a space where Weavy is going to be helpful. Like if you're able to create little workflows that can be turned into plugins to do certain things all the time, right? Like this one I was doing with the exact thing I was doing with the dish and the food, what I was talking about. If I just turn that into a plugin or a little app that I can run on specific images, and it's just like, bang, it's done. Good, next. I don't have to do it again. So like that's sort of the goal here. But like when you get into workflow building, just want to talk about sort of like the process. This is like more for scale than it is for just generic type thought, right? Or just like generic sort of like workflow building. But really it starts like working backwards. So you have to understand like what you're trying to get at the end. You also have to be able to produce what you want at the end, to like, if that makes sense. Like I can't like build a system to create really good AI images if you've never created a good AI image before. Like you need to know like what is good, then back engineer like how to get there, right? So again, I got to understand some of the tools and some of the sequences to go into this. But typically, like what I just said, I'm proving output first. So before I go and build these tools in Weavy, I'm like, can I just write a couple prompts like myself to get something like this without having to go and build it at scale? Because once I have a couple good prompts and it's replicable, right? And I'm like, oh, that structure is going to work here. Cool. Let me try it 15 different ways. Cool. It works. So then it's like, all right, now I have to go back to the input. Like, what's the system prompt? How do I write one single prompt that will write 10 more prompts for me exactly like that? That'll go get me 10 outputs of exactly what I need, right? So that's, you know, again, this is where all the groundwork has been laid with a lot of what you guys have been doing or learning, is like getting into these sort of, you know, better controllable outputs from your prompting, which now can then be turned into scale. So what do I have here? Let's do an example. All right, cool. So like this is a good example, right? Like workflow process. First, typically, like I said, I'm going to identify the angle. Then I'm going to identify the tools that I need to build it. Then we'll build a system prompt, and then we'll build the workflow, right? So like here, if I wanted to get this product into this into this like sort of advertising composition, right? This is basically what I'm dreaming up in my head. This doesn't exist yet. But like my idea is I want to go here, but I want to auto prompt it. I just want to give it this and say like, go create a meta ad for me. Like that's basically how I'm thinking. So I need to build a prompt that's like, okay, I understand you want to use this thing, but then I need to write, how do I position all of these ingredients around the product, add the text, find the different benefits that we're going to call out in here, things like that. So, really just a couple nodes, but this is, and we'll sort of look through some of this stuff, but the image reference, right? Like I'm going to go get a couple nodes here. I only need about 4 or 5. One would be a reference image where I'm going to upload my product. 2 would be a text node where I'm going to write my like user prompt, the prompt that I'm going to write to like describe what I want. 3 is going to be another text node, which is just going to be my system prompt, which is basically saying, this is what I want to do with my ideas, turn it into this style of prompt every time. I'll drop in what's called in Weavy, which is called any LLM, but you can just go siphon through, ChatGPT, Claude, or Llama, or I forget what else is in there. But you can use whichever one you want. This is going to be like your prompt generator, and then we'll need an image generator. So here we use Nano Banana, right? So first, like typically, right, when I build this stuff, I'm going to build like a system prompt that will provide rules, right? And these system prompts like aren't crazy hard. It's basically like, you are X, you are going to be doing this with what I give you. Your task is to do this, format it like this, follow these rules. Like that's pretty much it, right? It's like just a set of custom rules to follow every time, instead of saying like just straight into the LLM, hey, can you write me a prompt for this with no structure, right? It's like, here's the structure to sort of like think off of. So I'll basically drop this node in, give it inspiration, right? It'll take my idea and be like, okay, I'll structure my prompt, I'll reference the image, and then I'll go create a prompt based on that, which is cool, right? And then when we connect Nano Banana here, it's basically saying, okay, we have prompt, rules, reference image, prompt based on rules and reference image, image created based on rules, prompt, reference image. It's like, great. So this is like a core functionality here, right? Like you think about this doesn't have to be AG1. This can be a character. This can be, a scene. This can be whatever. It doesn't have to be one thing or the other, because it's good, because now this is like what I want to sort of like get across to everyone too, is building this stuff in a more generic fashion. Like if you go into my custom instructions, they're very loose, and we'll look at a few of them. If you want to use this for other things other than just the one singular workflow that you're working on now, I'm sure everyone who's played around with this has gone and like, you end up going down, you have a single prompt for every little step of the way, right? That's something that can't be like replicated and used again. That's like a very isolated use case. Like this is now a tool. Like this little piece right here, I can drop in any product, anything I want that I need consistency with, and it's going to work, because I'm not saying like in the custom instructions, use it. You always use this AG1 green in the colors, right? Like I'm not doing that, because that's not necessary. I just want to say like, always look at the product, always do this if there's a product like available, whatever. So good thing here is like, again, this idea is, the girl holding this package out, sitting on the bleachers. My next idea to get this, I might just say, meta ad with negative space built in, contrasting green background with, item callouts. I can use this same little tool. I don't have to go and rebuild it. So this is like this becomes like a little function for me now, because I can also drop a different product in here, right? It's just same exact thing. Nothing changes other than what I'm describing. So just drop a new product in, say I want a lo-fi meme of this. It's going to go take my custom instructions, say, all right, I'll write you a prompt. There you go, output. So this is how you start to scale, right? Like same workflow, different results, different products could be used for different things. And then you iterate the system prompts a little bit, and you can change up exactly how it goes. Like instead of, trying to get marketing assets, which I was here, like, I'll just change the system prompt to make memes now. Like, just it can be whatever you want, really. And then I don't have to really change anything else other than my input idea. So that's sort of like the small portion of it. The big portion of it is when we start to scale stuff, right? So let's see where we're at here. Cool. These system prompts, right? it's really not that much. Like the difference between this and this is not much. I'm just telling it to write 10 prompts instead of one prompt. And then how we split those 10 prompts, right? So there's much cleaner ways to build this. I like to show it this way so that you can see everything and like this, like the size of it. Because once we start looking at the branching into like multiple outcomes, like this is right here running to 10 images. This is running to 10. This could be 40. This could be 100. This could be 400. Right? Like this is how some of these other brands do it at like very big scale. So again, we look at something like this. If I'm going to build a little bit bigger here, I have like my reference image, right? Which is, input our product, user prompt right here, which is saying like, this is what I want to do. This custom instructions here, this system prompt, the only thing I changed about it was write 10 prompts instead of one prompt, right? That's it. Then the one extra piece here, which we'll get into, and I'll show you guys when I jump off here into Weavy. It's like how to split this stuff. You need to put this in the rules, which is like, separate each prompt with a star so that it knows when to like separate the prompts and not just run all 10 prompts as one, if that makes sense. There's a variable piece that I also like to put in sometimes as well into the system prompt, which is like the visual brand profile, which is essentially like the brand style guide, like put into words. Again, this might be useful for some people here. For me, I need to do it to keep everything on brand, but same thing, same infrastructure, right? We have reference image, user prompt, system prompt. This here is called a prompt concatenator, really fancy word for just saying like, this is a piece of text, this is a piece of text, put them both in the same box. That doesn't do anything else other than that. So again, it's just reference image, user prompt, custom rules or system prompt, or these three down here. Prompt generator, same as before. Then we have this thing called array, which basically when you run into array, it'll split the prompts into individual prompts. It'll then branch. So we'll use this thing called a list selector or a text iterator, which I'll show you later. I keep saying that. And then they run to each individual node that they go and generate. This will happen automatically with one click now, right? So it's all sort of flowing from one thing to the next. But the other good thing they have is what's called app mode, right? And this is when you really start to figure out how to build the tools, when you start building for app mode. Because really, this is how it would look if I gave it to a client or if I gave it to someone. It's just like you put in an image, you write your prompt, 20 images come out. Like nothing else. You don't have to look at the spaghetti strings. You don't have to look at this whole thing and figure out what's going on. Just hit enter and go. And that's what comes out, right? So we want to guide the process, each individual step. But the let's see what we got here. Yeah, let's go. Oh, perfect. Good segment. But let me pause for a second. I just ripped through that stuff. I just wanted to lay some sort of like foundation there on a few different ways to go about things. But
if that's a pause, Kyle's jumping in saying, why do you add a node that's a label? You can see it in the text. I'll just read it out loud for everybody. Why do you add a node that's a label that says text prompt to then branch it to all the model inputs versus just drag connectors from the prompt box directly to all the models?
I'm not sure. I'm sorry. What was the?
If you look in the text chat, it might be easier for you to read it.
All right, let's see. Hold on.
From Kyle.
Why do you add a node that's a label that says text prompt to then branch to all the model inputs versus drag the connectors from the prompt box directly to all the models? Oh, because I'm writing 10 unique prompts from it. Like that one idea I'm giving it, it's just a loose idea. It's not like do this. It's going to run through my system prompt, which is going to say like, here's the idea, write 10 variations of this, or like 10 different ways to go about this. So it's like permutation prompting in Midjourney almost, but like for the full prompt. So that, like I don't like, oftentimes I'm sure you guys know you default, like I default to writing the same stuff all the time, in prompts. I'm like, it uses a certain kind of lighting, I use a certain kind of composition. It's just like comfortable, right? And just like you kind of like every once in a while. So this like breaks that, but also for variance, for me, for something like these marketing assets, like they can't all look exactly the same. Like I need, the point of doing this in batches for me to get different stuff. So they're all built to be written differently. So that's why it'll go, that one idea will turn into 10 ideas, but they're all slightly different from each other. Does that make sense, Kyle? Sorry if that didn't explain that. But
And then Elizabeth had a quick question about why do you start with a hand holding the AGI bottle instead of just the AG1 bottle, excuse me.
Oh, you can do both. It doesn't, typically it doesn't really affect it. Let me, I'll pull up an example, of something different. This is, let's see, I got to get out of this workflow here. Sorry, guys. This one is eating up all my data. But let me pull up BarkBox for fun. Where are we here? BarkBox, cool. So this one, just as an example, right? This is, I'm sharing my screen, right? Let's see.
Yeah, you're all good.
Yeah, so this one's just a standard product image, right? Works basically the same. Put it in. It's saying, all I'm really saying in the system prompt is preserve the details of the product. Make sure that this product stays how it looks, right? It's infinite now. So for something like this, which is awesome when it works. Let me back out of here for a second. I'll show you sort of why I'm also looking forward to Weavy is when this stuff can just get dumped right in here. I can go and push send 5 times on this app and I have about 200 images to go through. And then it becomes for me in my space, right? This is a little bit different for probably everyone who's working on different projects. This is good to get this amount of variance because then I can go through and then I'm finding, which ones I like. I'm oh, okay, these are the ones that I like. These ones are actually.
You're kind of imagining, you mean what you're excited about Figma joining is that there's going to be this flow through that as you're creating, it's landing in the space that you're already collaborating with your client or sometimes your collaborators, right?
Correct. And I think that's why I'm so obsessed with it is because I'm this would be so awesome to have this all in here. Easy. And instead of me having to download all the zip files, put it in here, and then always back and forth, I can either just send something back through into a workflow or do, pull different, small edits together that I want to make in Figma and then pull it back right into the workflow instead of down, it's just all the extra work. And I'm awful at organization, if you guys can't tell by my naming conventions over here. I move too fast, but again, this stuff is really, to me, insane. Now, this is just one use, right? This is just one simple use. But if anyone's take a back seat real quick. If anyone hasn't been in here, basically, this is your Weavy situation. Up here, this is, I would say, if you're not familiar with workflow building and you want to get a good idea, they have a good couple workflow tutorials in here and just workflows that you can just go and use. So if you're oh, I'm kind of interested in the brand creator, let me go see what that's all about, right? Click on it, and then it's a good way to learn, just to see sort of how everything is connected. What they're doing in each one of these things. Why is this system prompt saying this? What type of outputs are they getting with different models? Why are they doing this? Why are they using background remove? So sometimes these are great just to go and look through. To me, I learned definitely a few things in here throughout using it, but there's also all of your I've got a lot here, a lot of crazy stuff. Put stuff into folders regardless, but if you're going in here to create new stuff, you just end up with a blank space. That's basically it. One piece of advice: just name them, because if you start going in here, it gets pretty confusing because everything becomes untitled, and then you're where is this stuff? So let's just do Robo. Right. Demo the tool. Has anyone not used or first time they're seeing this before? Well, I'm just checking the chat before I go.
Yeah, I think there's probably 2 types of brains. I think someone like Morpheus writing in that it might be new to see this infinite canvas model where the workflow is what you're seeing. I mean, I think what I sort of covet of getting as good at this as you is that so often, whether it's that we're hopping from website to website or tool to tool, we have to create our own Google Drive systems or whatever it is to keep up with it, even at this stage. And as you're saying, eventually adding Figma to it, it continues. There's something about just looking at your blueprint in real time. Not the least of which is all these scaling opportunities that you're pointing us towards. So, and then, yeah, like Flora is another one. So, I mean, this sort of infinite canvassing is a trend. I think we're focusing on Weavy because, you know, in some ways, a few of us are big fans, but also we see this as perhaps a category leader. I think for people that are using Weavy, and again, I want to be mindful of what else you want to share with us, but I'd love to invite folks to, you know, I know some people like Michael Ronan use it a lot too. So I want to give you space to walk us through whatever you're excited to share, but definitely we have lots of time to walk through and learn together. So I'll throw it back to you, Rory.
Cool. And I know Min is not a fan of the infinite canvas. I just like to keep ribbing him about that because he yes, I know there's some disdain towards it, but yes.
I'm here.
I was waiting for it.
Present the purist. No, I'm just kidding. No, this is great. I am curious though, because Adobe's going to do it too. So, which in theory would probably, they would try to make it as convenient as Figma's going to probably make Weavy, right?
Yeah, I think, you know, there's going to be some. FreePic did some things that I feel like are very similar to how Weavy could be integrated into Figma, like the way that you're able to sort of make a living, breathing design space in there with nodes. So, like, I don't know if anyone saw the. I'll pull this one up. I feel like this is probably not to go off course here, but I really like the way that this was presented by FreePic, because I feel like this is a great way to think about not just building workflows, but like building like this is like a sales piece to me, or like something I could utilize. They built this mood board sort of tool in here, but the way that it's structured with the sort of the text and the way it's all organized. Now, this could be used, you know, basically multiple times. Like, this doesn't have to be for chairs. Like, you could plug in a different sketch of a different product and then, you know, different hex colors and different textures, and you have a whole different workflow. But I really like how this is laid out, because I would definitely use it for something like this. Because then this is all connected, but it also feels like if you're doing sales decks or presentation decks and pitches and stuff like this, yeah, cool. This is always going to be somewhat the same majority of the time. Anyone who's done deck work knows you're not changing that much. But like, this is a great way. I think this would be pretty consistent in terms of how it could look and feel in Figma also, but not sure yet. They're still doing it, but I think I'm really excited about what Figma is going to allow them to do, because now there's just more capability within Figma. But that one, where was I? What were we just doing?
I mean, I think there's room if there's, again, I think there's some kind of deep rabbit hole moments of things you've discovered that are really starting to work for you. I know there's stuff that's either NDA'd or not available to look at. But you know, again, I think also to invite others, if there's even questions you have about what other people are discovering, I think we want to create that environment too.
Totally. Let me stop sharing so I can come pay attention. Let's see. All right. Have I tried Flora? Does it compare to Weavy, in my opinion? I like Flora. I think Flora is easy. Like, to me, like, Flora is like a great, like, if you like the creating with nodes, like branching realities and just using one tool to the next, I think I like it's very simple. It's clean. It doesn't have a few things that I really like with Weavy, though. Like, Weavy's compositor node is like the game changer to me. It's why I got into it, is like, oh, there's a compositing node. I can stick different layers in here and then continue to build around that, versus like trying to go do that externally. So that one, and then also like the batch capabilities, like Flora doesn't have the ability to do, you know, like, here's 10 prompts and then go do 10 different things with it. But it can just do, like, take this to this node. You'd have to write 10 individual prompts yourself, or it's hard to describe how to actually do that, but really you can only go like one prompt to 10 images, not one prompt to 10 prompts to 10 images, if that makes sense. So what's a good workflow to build out shots for a storyboard? Yeah, I think I have some stuff here. Okay, I can definitely get into that. Electra. Let's see, for say a 5-minute video project, how many workspaces you're using for that one project? Use multiple. Or define process between workspaces. I like to use, like, I'm concepting half the time, so like I definitely go overboard. I'll show you guys what an organized workspace looks like and what a real bad one looks like. It's not, you know, the first, until you actually figure it out, like you're gonna have to go through the process step by step first, and then you're like, oh, let me clean this back up and turn it into a tool, or something that I can reuse. But you know, the other thing here, let's see, this is, I'll just show you sort of like, is this the one I want to do? Well, let's go through this one real quick, because this is actually like a good evolution of like why the nodes can be totally different but exactly the same. So like this one, I did this one for a corporate training like a while back, but I think it's super useful, right? It's like sort of the intro to building systems, but like here, right? Like this is basically just a prompt box, right? And this prompt box, if you're adding it here and you're connecting it to 4 different nodes. If you're familiar, if you like the way that like Midjourney functions, you like the way that, you know, Reave functions or any of the other tools that give you 4 outputs, you can build that. You know, you just got to basically on here, you have to think about it in terms of here's a prompt box, right? And then over here, all your workspaces or all of your nodes are here. So within the toolbox, you're going to have traditional editing tools like, you know, levels, compositor, painters, blurs, inverts, channels. Have your mats. You have tools that can add the text tools that can help in a number of different ways here. Text iterator, image iterator, has some data stuff. Then you get to your image models, and it's like, okay, we got all of them. Same way if you're using FreePic, same way if you're using, you know, Creo, whatever. You have your vector tools, which I like to have in here sometimes for when I'm doing graphic design work. You have your image editors. There's a ton generate from image. We have the upscalers. We have the video models. And then we have, you know, lip sync, 3D. Cool thing here is if there's anyone that's a little bit more ambitious, anything that's on FAL, you can bring in. So if you like a model or a LoRa or something that you find on FAL, replicate, or Civit, you can just copy the link and drop it in here and you can use it. So that's something that I find to be super helpful. It's like, oh, like when this new Quen like multi-angle LoRa came out a couple days ago, I just went on FAL, found it. I was like, okay, cool. I can just build a workflow out of it, which is just pretty insane that it's just like it can be dropped in there real quick. Like this is something that was built in less than 5 minutes, you know, where it's like, okay, I found just to show you how this functions for anyone this is probably the more extreme audience here than the beginners, but this is just something before I forget. I don't think a lot of people sort of go this far, but if you wanted to bring in like, I don't know, let's just search something from WAN, see if they have something here. WAN 25, WAN 2.5. Let's do, you know, Korea, WAN alpha, text to video. Cool. Let's do WAN alpha, text to video. If you're in FAL or replicates the same process, you just click the copy link and you go into Weavy. You hit import model, paste the link, and then there you go. You got a new thing to use, and you can just pull any model in from there, which I think it's just awesome. Regardless, go back to this stuff, right? Sorry for the sidebar, but like this, if this is a prompt, right? Like it's simple. You just drop in. You know, you can right click or you can draw. You can click and drag your nodes in. So let's just say I wanted to do. Let's find the images here. Let's go to just use Rev because it's fast. Reave, whatever you want to call it, right? Connect node to node. It's the hardest part of using the node system. It's like figuring out where these things go. But typically, all of them Weavy, everything's color coded. Like if I tried to put this prompt into the reference image, it's going to be like, nah, can't do that. So, you know, it's really, you know, go from purple to purple, green to green, you know, white to white. That's sort of like the idea that they try to keep it simple for you. But if you just want to generate, you know, one node, right? It's like dog, right? Not a great prompt. No, but we're short on. I'm not going to sit here and make you guys watch me prompt things, but like that's, you know, effectively how something's created in here. But if you wanted to have, you know, 4 at the same time, you're just duplicating the node and connecting, right? Duplicate the nodes, connecting. You can do this 100 times. You could do this 1 time. It doesn't matter, right? And best thing is you can just hit enter, and then all 4 are going to run, right? But they're all connected. So this is like, if you're used to generating like this is the way to do it, right? You can also do, your standard image prompting, same way. Prompt box, attach the image, then go from there, right? So that's simple. But to me, some of the most like important things that I like to do in here too is like sort of like I like to do aesthetic testing, right? So typically I'll run a prompt, but I'll run it to 7 different models to be like, all right, this one's actually getting what I want, because it might be, Minimax image might be getting more of my idea than, let's say, Mystic is, right? I think there's a great way to just type one prompt, get multiple outcomes, and be like, oh, this is the one that works. This is the one that I want to use. It's much easier than go down that rabbit hole, but you can, obviously you can use the other ones. But I always think it's like a base project. This is kind of how I work. This is like, oh, let's see what aesthetic is going to help me the most here. So, again, nothing different from up here. We're just using the prompt box, and then we're swapping where these spaghetti strings go. This one's going to Reeve, Higgsfield, Flux Pro, image, Minimax image, ideogram, Mystic, ChatGPT, Imagen. This could all be Imagen. This could be every single different one. No rules, right? So that's sort of
one of the things I've seen people use this for too is to almost pick which model you want to use.
Mm-hmm.
There's even like, and to go to this like ideation stage, like just saying, I just kind of want to see how everybody plays with this idea of mine, and then that's right. Like that's a key stage of ideation, right?
Yeah, I like to think there's a model for an aesthetic. It's like some of them are really good at certain things, some of them are really good at other things. But this is one way that I test it: just run the prompt or my idea through here. The other way to do it is if you want to build like little tools for this, right? Is build out in like modular fashion. Like this is going to be the same thing as here, except I'm going to build my prompt in a little modular fashion. So I can like basically create, like using the prompt formula from before, I'm just going to go and like make little boxes to fill in the blanks. So I can always sort of like, I don't know, like art direct my own prompts, I guess, if you want to call it that. So basically just creating different text boxes, labeling them, and then having them go through, again, this thing called the prompt concatenator, which is basically just taking this and going here into the box. But it's all sort of like live action. So instead of magazine, it's, if I did editorial photo, you'll see that's changing down here, right? So it's happening in real time, and then run those to the same like 7 nodes as up here. So like that's one way to do it. This is a different way to do it. What I'm saying is there's basically no end to how you can do this. Now, if you wanted to take this and be like, all right, now I have this modular system, same thing. This is just duplicated from here. But now we're using a system prompt to write the prompt for me. So if I'm just here over like inputting my ideas, this is the same thing as the prompt box before, where I was like actually just typing out my loose ideas. Now it's taking all this into account. System prompt saying like, we're going to go write more prompts, or we're going to write a new prompt from this. And then it's going to write me a new prompt and then run it to all the different models, right? So this is a different way to go about it, because you can do, the good thing about this, right, is that these two are not mutually exclusive, right? They're built so that, okay, now in this sense, I have this sort of modular prompting system. I can go create a character designer, right? Like where this is just like you put in the inputs for, what would deconstruct what a character look would be like, and then like create those as categories, right? We might have our ethnicity and gender, our age, our hair features, our body type, our style, right? Run that to the concatenator and get character generator, right? Or build it into the system prompt, same thing. And then we have, our output. So these are sort of like different ways to utilize it, just to show that you can go and like build this stuff. But let me answer some questions before I get into some more of the complex.
Yeah, I think one of the quick ones, like how do you incorporate Midjourney? I mean, they just have no API, so you have to probably download the package like manually, right? To answer the question.
A lot of times I'll use that as a style reference, or take characters over from Midjourney or things like that.
And then Kyle, did that make sense to you, the way you walked it through? To your question.
Yeah. Oh, Kyle, yes, you can. I see. Can you execute one group from that image you like and then just try? Yes. Yep.
Cool. Great. And then Winston, you raised your hand, which other people are welcome to raise their hands and also chime in with ideas of theirs. Winston, what were you going to say?
I was just looking at the bike one, and so different prompts, they weren't. So I just wanted to see how you were splitting them up. Like, I thought it was camera angle, but I don't think it's camera angle. The one on the left, yeah. What sections? Oh, it's the shot types in. Okay.
Shot type.
Roy, I think you can close that little like mini window on your screen just because it's already busy. You see the Google.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's all right.
Let me go back.
No, now I think you closed out of it. It's just like it's such a busy screen already. Just the X, yeah. There you go.
There we go. Didn't even notice it was up there. Yeah, so this is just like, again, that same prompt formula I used from before, but then just like adding different things in here. To then, well, this one I think I duplicated wrong, but this is more so same exact thing where we have lighting, composition, additional details. Have our system prompt here, merchandiser, same prompt that we used in that example, which is going to give us basically what we're asking for. And then runs to here. And then these output nodes, this is what I probably should show here. Let me start a new one. If you guys wanted to build, like, and go into app mode, right? Say I just wanted to build like a simple generator here. Like if I built a prompt, right, which is like you add your prompt node, add an import node, which is just like where you can upload your images and whatnot. And then let's just say this is going into like, nano banana. Prompt, image. If I wanted to do just this, if I wanted to make it, crazy, as you see up here, it doesn't say anything about canvas, or it just doesn't say canvas or app. If you put what's called the output node here, see how this stuff comes up? When you drag this in, this basically becomes now like something that you can use in the app sense. So here it should show up just as a text prompt and an image. And then you can change sort of like how many runs you want out of this. You can do 4 images, you can do 10 images, right? So it's a simpler way to look at this stuff, and it'll all run in unison. If it's one step like this, it's pretty simple. If it's going to be multi-step, you're probably going to have to fix a few things. But that's how you create like an app. And if I wanted to do, 6 outcomes, I just have to attach 6 different nodes. There's an easier way to do this as well, which is the text iterator. And I can show you guys that. But God, there's so much I want to show you. Let me actually show you some full stuff though.
It's a good feeling. And again, I know there's a few people that are also in slightly beginner mode. I'm doing my best to answer things in more of a ABC's way. Like Fred Graver was kind of saying, "Oh, what's the beginner's way of understanding this?" Like what I said to him was like, for someone that maybe feels overwhelmed, like it's an aggregator tool. Like just like any other tool where we have a dashboard, a lot of things. It's just the difference being, and like frankly, even Creo or FreePick have added this now with their own nodes and spaces, is you get to now see the full blueprint of all the choices you're making instead of hopping around and having to save files. And then more importantly, then seeing how that creates a scaling opportunity to then do that at repetition and volume, right? Is that a good snapshot? Yeah.
100%. Because this is more along the lines of like where you'll start with it. Like this is what I do for all of our YouTube thumbnails, right? It's just like I'm doing like traditional design work in here because I'm trying to get something that I want. Where Midjourney, like I brought these characters are in ChatGPT, but I brought them in for Midjourney, right? And then I'm using prompt, make me a side profile of a character. So I'm using Seedream, which, to get the side profile, using the same thing here. Then using that to basically reference in with Gemini here, just different instead of Seedream, it worked better. Getting my little Scream character, changing his boots, adding a knife, removing the background. And then this is where I think Weavy really excels, is just this compositor node. It's so simple, but it works so well. It's like, all right, now I can bring all my characters in here and move them around in a canvas style so that this becomes way more easy, especially if you guys are doing stuff with multiple characters that need to be consistent every time. It's way easier to do this in here and then edit with something like Gemini or a Seedream than it is to try and like let's put one person in, and then like we'll add another person in, and then we'll add another person in. Like you get the degrading factor over time. I'm sure a lot of you have dealt with that. So here again, like I'm just getting everyone in a scene, and then I'm adding them into a background, and then I'm changing the perspective, right? And then like you see, it's just like keep these characters exactly the same, make the screen character slightly further back, right? Okay, cool. Now it's like, all right, that's cool. That's what I wanted, but maybe not the same composition that I want. You know, zoom in closer on them. Then like, let's go lower angle here, and let's change the colors here. So you're seeing it like step by step as I'm sort of like making decisions, but it's also like history tracking. I can always go back and be like, nope, I liked it more here, and then start to branch off of this reality in that sense. And, you know, stuff like this is great with text. So, you know, here, Mid-Journey, I use this in one of our old thumbnails, just saying, you know, change the text to something different, but keep it in the same style, right? And then we take that where we went with the aesthetic, where we are with the text, and then we use the compositor again to get it in here, layer it in, you know, just the same way you would in Canva, Photoshop, Figma, whatever. And then I'm using Seedream again to sort of like stylize the text. And it's like, okay, cool, got to this point. But you know, you can always continue to make your edits. Like, all right, bring the screen guy closer and put him up right behind us, and there we go, thumbnail, right? Like this is to me the easiest way to think about.
Do you and your podcast host think a lot about your teeth?
That
Is that part of the inspiration? It's noticeable. I mean, I hope that's
no,
beautiful
we
teeth.
are big mouths because we talk all the time. That's basically it. That's
Okay.
more of the idea.
A few questions coming in.
Yeah.
I think some of these are quickies. Christian's asking, do you run video prompts the same way, getting different models to make videos at the same time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
And that's
definitely,
and that's the upside here. That's like one of these infinite canvas moments, is that you don't just have to go on VO3 and do it and then click. You can actually just see like, which one do I like the best? And I think Kyle's question before, you can then move into the next stage of your workflow after you've given yourself that very apples with apples visual.
So let me ask everyone a question real quick. Do you guys have like a custom GPT or something that you use for generating video prompts, or you write all of them by hand? Oh wow, there's more questions here. Sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, I suspect everybody has different answers to this, because sometimes custom GPTs are made for us, or we're just in a chat. But I know for me, that's almost, especially with tools like VO3, and all these tools now have that little magic wand that like writes it for you.
Yeah.
Inside of FreePic, so it's increasingly like it's definitely taking the fingers out of the prompts.
So for the video tools, right? Like I'll show you this one. I'll drop this one in the link too if you guys just want to take a look at it. This one, where am I here? This is just me using I'm building a custom GPT into Weavy. That's all a system prompt is, right? So this is the same exact process. Like if you're going to your custom GPT and you're dropping in your image and you're saying like, give me this shot, right? Like your custom GPT is coming up with this. Right? This is why maybe sometimes the system prompt can be scary because it doesn't make sense. But like this is just the part that's hidden in a custom GPT. Like when you go and ask your custom GPT, what are your custom instructions, or what's your system prompt? It'll give it to you. You can just paste it in this box, and then it'll come out. Like so, you know, like for this one, prompting assistant designed to create vivid cinematic prompts, specialize in creating prompts. The assistant, you know, we focus on like real looking stuff. Assistant is adaptable, limits only output the prompt, blah, blah, blah. You guys can go see this and check it out if you want to. But like essentially, now I have, you know, my image, my prompt running through. This is my custom GPT right here. This whole thing, it just looks different. Sometimes it feels a little bit confusing, but you know, again, you're only editing this. Sometimes I just lock this to be like, that's my system prompt. I don't ever want to touch that. There's no need to touch it. It's just like, unless you want to change it or go like iterate on it. Now we'll take my prompt, my image, write the prompt, and then send it to, you know, Minimax, Dance, Kling, VO3, 2.5. Then we have our output nodes. So in the app, it's just like I'm using my custom GPT, but it's generating, you know, all these at the same time, right? So I can just, if I hit go, which will be 400 credits, but I don't care. You guys can see how this functions. You know, then all 6 start generating at once, 5 different generators. This can be like your way to test stuff. So this is a good way to think about it. Like that's one. There's a lot more like that. Like this is Higgsfield. Higgsfield's been doing a lot of sketchy stuff lately, so I stole their system prompt by going onto their website and taking their prompt structure and was like, all right, you guys can do sketchy stuff, I'll do sketchy stuff too. Basically, if anyone's not familiar with Higgsfield Soul, right? Like it's or Higgsfield, their little Chrome extension, you can just drop an image into here and it'll go into your Higgsfield library and start generating like a replica of it, like not one-to-one, but close. So here, again, same thing. This one I'm saying, give me, image, just the idea. And then what I'm doing is giving it the very specific system prompt formula from how Higgsfield creates their prompts in Soul, lens effects, subject, scene, whatever. It's basically just fill in the blank. Look at this, fill in the blanks of this, create prompts, and then run prompts to different image generators so I can test. Maybe Higgsfield isn't the best. Maybe Flux 1.1 Ultra did a little bit better. Maybe Mystic's got better quality. Maybe I somewhat like Minimax image a lot more than I thought I would, right? So something like this, again, just different way to use it. I don't have to have Higgsfield Chrome extension now or a Higgsfield Soul account because I can do it here. Make it easier, right? Like that's a little bit less. This is a little bit for more of the film side. I'll show you guys just something like this is partially automated and then partially like one-to-one, right? This one here, same structure, right? The prompt, system prompt, generate more prompts to then go and generate different styles, like whichever one I like, right? Then here, this portion of it is saying like, go create alternate shots from this shot. This is how you can start to construct your storyboard. Or if you have a storyboard, you can go and put it in and then create off of that. Like maybe you have a shot list or a storyboard list and you want to make that your input. You would just change your system prompt to say, instead of receiving a prompt, you're going to receive a shot list or a storyboard. Go create prompts from the shot list, right? That would fit, because then, all right, we'll fit like our different shots and our different positionings and things like that we're looking to get. Then I'm taking them into the editing phase where I might need to edit some of the different scenes, or like, I want to be closer to the ramp versus farther away. I want to be down here, I think, is a better example of one of these things, which is one of these shots where I had to like really doctor the keyframes to get something that I wanted. As you guys know, you come over something like this, you get a start frame like this, it has no context of what the side of the car looks like, right? Or the side of the person or the side of the house or whatever this might be. So you kind of got to like doctor things around to give it some context, change the paint job, sort of like control the keyframes here to get it to like where you want it to go to a certain point. So this is a little bit more extreme. Let me jump back and see if I'm back here. Sorry, I keep forgetting to delete this thing. That's my bad.
That's all good. It's just I think the main observation is these are such busy screens. Lots of little questions while you're maybe prepping the next thing. I mean, do you run video prompts the same way? Yeah, I think we answered that. Electra really just wants you to share your workflows with her as templates. I don't know. Are they shareable? Or are they just, just follow you on LinkedIn, basically.
No, got them all. Got a whole pack for you guys if you want them. There's so many. I have so many. It's stupid.
All right, Sam's Rory is in the house. We will get that before we leave. Eric Archer is asking, are Weavy apps intended to be sold by the creators? Is that like a new little, like the way people used to sell SREFs? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I think you can do that. I think you can definitely do that. I mean, I sell them to corporations, so you guys could definitely sell them too.
And that's kind of the next question. Is that what you send to your client? Oh wait, no. Is the app what you send to your client for approval from one?
I send them the entirety of the work. Like we approve the workflow is basically how it works. Is like we run that system a bunch of times to see if it's approved. We get that all figured out before we package it up for like real like app stuff. But it's also like infrastructure, right? Like I can go and test this stuff in here a lot faster than I can in N8N or a lot faster than I can with like, Lovable, right? Because you can do a lot of this stuff with Lovable too. It's just like, this is the infrastructure of it.
So maybe, because that's almost like, I think you've said it a few times, but as anybody reacts to like, oh, there's going to be Adobe boards, oh, there's going to be, is Weavy creating a little sub economy that for like people like you or me or others that are doing a lot of this consulting work, like, is that kind of like the other thing here that we're actually, that then that client has to make an enterprise choice about working on Weavy anyway, that marketing department. But let's say they have made that choice. Is this kind of what a consulting gig looks like now, that you come in, you don't just sort of teach them, you don't just make stuff for them, you're actually leaving behind a workflow? Is that what you're sensing as an opportunity with Weavy?
That's what I'm doing right now. Yeah, that's it. It's like, let's build this. Let's find out where your issues are. Like, what do you guys have issues with? Where are the problems? It's also customizable, because when I do this for certain brands, it's totally different. I might be working with a marketing team. Like for those that, Athletic Greens example, that's me working with media buyers who just need assets. Like they're not highly critical of everything. Then there's workflows where I'm working with art directors and photographers who want to control every single thing. They want to control the lighting, the tones, the accents, everything. So we'll build it in like that more modular fashion so that they can go and effectively like art direct and curate the entire style of their image. Then on another sense, like I might be working with some people that are more in the compositing space and like doing it in the, utilizing the VFX style capabilities there. It's easier for them. Or it's like me talking to whoever it is and like, what are you comfortable with? So you don't have to just like write paragraphs of prompts. So like I might build a photo shoot generator to take one image and we'll build an entire photo shoot around it. But the input isn't a prompt. The input is a shot list. So if it's a photographer, they might be used to doing like shot lists their entire career. They know how to curate that and put that together. That's familiar. Writing prompts to them might not be familiar. So like, all right, then I'm building a system prompt that says, take this shot list, apply these rules, go create a prompt for each one of the shots in the shot list, and then go do it. Right. So when you're doing the batch stuff with Weavy, it's all system prompting, right? The models already exist. The models can handle what you need them to. When you're doing like the creative stuff, like you can also do that, which is why I love it, right? Like because it doesn't have to be one thing or the other. It doesn't have to be crazy batch processing. It could be something like this where I'm trying to create like a naval battle in the Coliseum where, oops, I just totally screwed up the 3D model that you can create, right? Let me lock this before these get crazy. Like something like this, I'm taking, like a Google Earth shot of the Coliseum, retexturing it, reskinning it, adding some water. You can also like just give an image into like Rodin 3D as a node, and this will, as you can see, you can basically create like a little 3D asset for compositing, and then in the compositor, it'll move as you move it, right? Like it's gonna change, as you can see up there. So you can like,
Wild. That's
right,
nuts.
like you can build
That
your own
real-time
scene.
reaction is nuts. That's nuts.
And then, back then at this time, I was using Runway Gen 4. I just tried this today. I was like, well, that's what I wanted, was seed edit and to use it and work for it. So you can craft your scenes this way. It doesn't have to be like text prompting. You can be like, oh, I really want to control exactly how the ship looks. So go work on the ship in a different layer, right? And then turn it into a 3D asset and then layer it in.
Amazing. We got about just under 10 minutes left, and I know there's still a lot of little bits and questions that might open up bigger topics. Morphe is asking, how does the compositor mode work with video and animation? Is there a limit to the elements you can include?
I haven't found a limit yet, but I also haven't gone that far into. I haven't gone like more than maybe like 7-8 layers, maybe. Using it mostly for symbols. Yeah, I just saw they updated the video compositor node. I haven't even played with it yet. So you can composite videos if you're used to traditional sort of VFX or CGI work. I think it kind of functions very similar, but it's probably way off of what you're used to.
Gotcha. Kieran's asking, for people that are new to both Weavy and Comfy UI, how would you compare the two, and maybe are there pros and cons?
Flora is entry level. Comfy is like expert. Weavy's like right in the middle, right? It's like that nice mixture of like can do a lot, but not as complicated, but also like still requires a little bit of playing around with to understand it. Honestly, the biggest learning curve is just getting over what the nodes are and how they work and what you can do with them, and like where they can go and what, like how to branch ideas and how to like take it from one direction to the next. Like I was out, like, for, again, example, using consumer electronics product that I was doing today. I had a shot of it without the lid on it, and it's a big, like, fancy, like, technological lid, and there's a glass dish, right? And the edits came back so they wanted to put the lid back on, but they want to keep everything else the same. Which, you know, when you're working with not 3D renders of products, like, well, how am I going to place that in the exact angle in the exact location? So in Weavy, I just took a screenshot of the actual product itself, right, and then I matted it down so it just looked like a 3D render, just like grayscale. Placed it on, create a 3D asset in Trellis or Rodin. Placed it on the product exactly how it should be, to use that as like a guide, and then use Seedream and Nano to like be like, this is exactly where you stick this damn top, and like the positioning and how it goes, just like paste it on, and it was like bang, work first shot. Whereas I had tried like 80 times the other way, and I was like, okay, like that's where it's like getting creative. Like there's no workflow that's like one click for that. That's just like using the tools. That's being able to use everything in one space. So
Amazing.
might seem stupid, but that's sometimes really the best way.
Kyle flagged an example where he sort of created a very interesting workflow, and it ended up giving him a pretty, I don't know, a bit of sticker shock. And I wonder if that's something to be mindful of. Like when we see this incredible moment of scale of like, holy shit, it just made me 50 videos in real time. Is that just like when like the kid playing on Roblox like shows their dad like a bill of all the fun stuff they did on the computer?
Definitely happens. I did that with the mood board tool, and it was like way too I was like, uh-oh, can't be doing that. That's way too much. That's definitely possible. But like, I'll use stuff. Like
so with infinite scale comes great responsibility of your wallet.
Yeah, you learn real quick. Like, I'm not going to use ChatGPT image because it's 20 credits per, and like it's not even good anymore. Like this one, for example, this is one that was built. Here's like a good example of something that was built for e-commerce product that I was helping a fast fashion brand with. But this turned into like character sheet / like character tester for, different ad spots, things that we were working on, which was, that little model builder that we did before, same thing, but down here, then adding the clothing inputs individually so I can control each one of them, right? So we have a top half, middle half, lower half. In terms of that, they run and we do the virtual try on here. Once that virtual try on happens, then we go and branch with our same little engines into sort of like lifestyle shots and or like reference shots. I like to think about these as also like, sometimes it's easier to use a reference shot for a medium shot of this guy than it is to use the full body shot, right? Where you might not get all the full detail, like something, if you're going to use this, might be better than using, the other images. But you just go crazy. Then you branch it, and it's like, all right, let's use let's have a test reality over here, which is like, place them in scenes, see how they look, and then let's also change, outfits or different character, test different character in different scenes. So like, this is like a character workshop. Like I just have this here for whenever I'm trying to develop a character, see how they look, how they feel. Like I can always go and change the aesthetics. There's so many different ways to use this thing, because like I said, this was an e-commerce sort of thing where I was like, all right, design your model, put your clothes in, get your poses, right? But that can
Squeezing
also
in a few more questions before we wrap up today. Kyle's asking UX question: when you end up with an image you like and you want to upscale it or to go to video, where's the play button to launch the next step? I'm pretty sure it's just like you right click the empty space or you just pull out the node, right? Like it's actually quite intuitive. Like that that yes and moment is actually designed to be very, right? Like
you can just click and drag and then add, magnific, upscale.
Yeah, Kyle, actually, I think that's one of the real appealing things. As somebody who's intimidated by Comp UI, I find Weavy very intuitive. Like the UX, I actually think is almost its main selling point.
Yeah, and you don't have to go nuts with it. Like that's what I think is like the best things. Like you don't have to do all the guidance steps and all the all the different settings that you can go, which can totally confuse you. You sometimes just use the base models as they are, like Magnific. You know, a lot of times I'm playing with the stuff, but when I'm running it in a workflow in the middle of like 5 other things that are going on, I might just use the automatic setting and just like bang, it typically works, right? So, you know, you can be as granular as you want or as sort of like generic as you want with it, which I think is great. I think there's probably more questions here.
There's a lot of little questions, but I mean, we are at time and I'm mindful of people. I mean, look, that's an hour-and-a-half session. Thank you to everybody. This is a great cohort. And I think all of that speaks to just what a natural educator you are and what a really generous creator you are in terms of sharing your journey. I mean, Min had a question that I think might be a good way to wrap. I mean, you know, it's been a year. This is an exciting thing that I think has kind of matured across the year. Like I remember first seeing Weavy in like June, and I think like, wow, that's like staying power. Like it's like slowly built in sort of relevance, and seeing someone like you really lean in was like a big signal to me. You know, if it's something that, you know, where do we see things going from here? Like if this is starting to become like a core setting for clients or this type of work, or is it very unique to marketing teams that want to think about scale? I don't know. Just what do you ruminate about when you get excited about this tool?
I just think it was the next logical step. Like we created the problem that basically ended up in nodes, right? It was like everyone stopped. I think a lot of tools stopped getting acquisition because there was so much breadth in tools. So everyone released an API. Then as soon as everyone released an API, and it's like, well, we can't keep up with subscribers. We have to add new stuff, but our foundational models aren't good enough, right? We'll just bring in some APIs, and then everyone has an aggregator at that point, and then it becomes like, all right, now I have all these tools. Well, who makes it the easiest to use, and who's got the best pricing, basically, and who's got the easiest UX UI? This is to me the easiest to sort of like concept how to use everything in one space versus like to flip to this tool. No, wait, go back this. No, wait, let's go back into the image editor tab. No, wait, not the image editor tab, the video generator tab. Like, where did I download my video? You know, it's to me it's just like next step, but it makes sense for where we are. I don't think it's always going to be like this. I just think like for now,
I just can't help it. Like every time when we go back to the idea that for most of these companies, we are the data, I can't help but imagine that they're just watching the nodes we're building, seeing the patterns, paying attention to what works, what gets used regularly, and it starts to create its own agentic system, watching what, like, I mean, that seems to be a likely outcome here, that there will be an autoplay mode of as much as you're training an app, but auto build, like that's the other thing that's happening while we're using this tool is we're teaching it how to be good.
But it's
so
good because it feels like you have some control on the process in terms of like the agentic side. Like if you're used to going through a certain process, like I built a tool that's a hook generator for meta ads, right? Where it watches a video, pulls out hook opportunities, then it like goes to a strategist who takes the hook opportunities and creates ideas. Then that strategist goes and that sends it to a creative director who sort of formulates it, who sends it to the copywriter who writes the copy, who sends it to the production team who actually makes the videos, right? Like all within Weavy, but you're building it like a human team, like how you normally go through the process. But like, again, if you don't know how to do that and you've never done it, you're not going to be able to make an agent from it. It's like whatever you're good at, whatever you're useful at, you have a process for doing things, typically just getting it out of your head and into the computer. But
I also can't help but wonder the way that it seems like ByteDance and CapCut have it cooked in with like the editing capabilities. That feels like the other, like, just
that's the big part.
That's the final infinity stone of like, you know, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, and then it just starts flowing. There's a lot to take. Anyway, we're right on time. Yeah.
But that was awesome. Thank you guys for having me. Thanks for listening. I don't know where an hour and a half went. I could probably do this for 10 hours.
No, you're such a natural, and I continue to learn from you. Thanks to everybody who showed up and obviously use the forum of this conversation. We have a RoboDojo channel on WhatsApp, and I think we have one also in our Discord. Like, as much as there's ongoing questions, you know, Rory, you're welcome to, as if you have all this extra time to just hop around. But I think we should use these moments of learning as ways to keep asking and learning together. If you can, I'll send a blast to everybody, whatever it is that was shareable with your workflows. That'd be appreciated. I know we can get to everybody's questions. I'm doing my best here, but there's also a lot to absorb. It's a great tool.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for inviting me, Min, everyone. Appreciate it. I'll catch you guys soon.
Awesome. We'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya.